When the end credits rolled, it did really explode. The Whale and Frasier received an instant, powerful, and enduring response from the crowd. They forbade him from leaving. He continued to bow repeatedly. He began to cry. Everyone started to cry. It was the kind of complete love-in that one only experiences at events like this. It seemed to have earned it. A beloved box office performer who rarely received the kinds of serious roles that would have generated Oscar talk in the past has a fantastic return story. Frasier's seemingly easy charm during his prime allowed him to go through big-budget comedies without ever coming off as overly earnest or, worse, as not taking them seriously. He never came across as a joke, rather, he always seemed like a nice guy who was just delighted to be there. The movies occasionally included comedy, but not him. Although nobody would certainly call Aronofsky's film as sweet, such sweetness is fully on display in The Whale. Based on Samuel Hunter's play, it tells the tale of Charlie, a 600-pound man who lives alone, teaches English on Zoom, while keeping his camera off due to technical difficulties, and who is desperately attempting to rekindle his relationship with his bitter, estranged daughter, Sadie Sink, before dying from congestive heart failure. He couldn't ought to go to the hospital, but he chooses not to, since he doesn't have health insurance. Charlie seemed to be on his way out. When his obstinate nurse Liz, Hong Shou, flips out over his blood pressure readings, he responds in an almost zen-like manner. He presents pain in a straightforward manner. Charlie seems to be in agony all the time. When he has a health concern, he starts reading to himself an old enigmatic student essay on Moby Dick, which he has memorized because he wants to leave the world on a high note. What a symbolism. In an effort to depict Charlie's life-threatening obesity sympathetically, Frasier and Aronofsky have discussed using prosthetics, which have drawn considerable criticism. Definitely not a movie about fat jokes, The Whale, though there are a couple of them, particularly in the occasionally comic back and forth between Charlie and Liz. However, consider this. The concept of disgust and excessive consumption serves as the foundation of the movie. Charlie is seen in numerous instances devouring copious amounts of food. He Googles information regarding his medical issue while stress-eating candy bars. He eats a lot of food, and then throws up in front of us at one point, overcome with remorse and shame. The implication is that this man is committing suicide. The meal is more of a metaphor for all the anguish and hurt he has experienced than it is actual food. Since everything is a metaphor, it is a little bit detached from reality. Is Charlie shown as being pitiful? Well, certainly, but in the word's original sense, not mockery or disdain, but pity and anguish are what he arouses. His eyes are big and curious when he speaks to others, and he has a half smile on his face. He exudes an open, good, inquisitive, and shy air. It's the ideal part for Frasier, prosthetic or not. Frankly, it's difficult to picture anyone else playing the part. The behavior of the character makes sense for someone who doesn't spend much time with others, is embarrassed to approach strangers, yet nevertheless wants to interact. Hunter's play has been purposefully left unopened by Aronofsky, so not only does the movie's action take place solely in Charlie's flat, but it also employs theatrical techniques like characters randomly walking in at crucial junctures in the plot. It's a reasonable decision considering that The Whale contains numerous crucial components that would stick out as stagey if its environment were depicted more accurately. Do you recall the essay on Moby Dick? We learn about Charlie's past through his interactions with his daughter and a young missionary, Ty Simpkins, for the New Life, a Mormon-like religion. Charlie left his family 9 years ago because he fell in love with one of his night school students, and he hasn't been the same since Alan, his lover, passed away. Charlie has, in fact, essentially been eating himself to death ever since. The Whale can occasionally feel tonally disjointed for much of its running duration, despite the formal direction and the small environment. Dark humor juts against deep emotion, languor scrapes against speed. Characters discuss religion in speeches and in frank expositional sections that can be uncomfortable. The actors around him, especially Sink, are stylized and brutal, their cutting, irate remarks are delivered in rapid-fire theatrical fashion. Frasier's performance is as open and gentle as possible. At first, everything seems like a mistake. But by the film's concluding scene, we understand that what we've been watching is analogous to a chemical experiment in which Aronofsky has combined these many components in order to contrast them. The movie was extremely muddy at one point, and I started to worry if there was something wrong with the projection, but then someone eventually opened a door, and lovely, gorgeous sunlight flooded the screen. In The Whale, something earth-shattering, lovely, and sincere erupts when everything finally comes together.